Brother Adam had no doubt. Providence had ensured his survival, for the real work of improving his honey bee had yet to begin. After the war, he embarked on a series of great journeys through Europe, the Middle East, and North Africa. Impressed by the vigor which imported French queens had injected into his early strain, he sought even better genetic material. He was looking for qualities that could be plucked from pure native bees, strains in danger of dilution, because even then beekeepers were beginning to introduce foreign queens to their hives. Muslim, Christian or Jew, if their queens looked promising, Brother Adam posted them home. The journeys covered some 200,000 kilometers. The first was in 1950 through Provence, the Alps, Italy, Germany. 2 years later, it was Algeria, the Levant, and more of southern Europe. In 59, to the Black Bees of Iberia, and in 62, 6 more Mediterranean countries, returning in 76 to the Sahara. 5 bees were outstanding: the French for its honey gathering, the Greek for its good temper, the Egyptian for its calmness, but best of all, the Saharan bee of Morocco and the Anatolian of Turkey.
That's the outstanding characteristic of the Anatolian. It's also a first-rate honey gatherer, but the outstanding characteristic is its thriftiness. You see, in winter it uses a minimum of stores, which is a very important consideration. And on the other hand, the bee found in the oasis of the Moroccan oasis is itself, in its pure state, it's not prolific, but when crossed, it's extremely prolific, which is, of course, a characteristic of great importance in honey production.
Gregor Mendel, pioneer of genetics, was Brother Adam's inspiration. At his monastery in Bohemia, Mendel had not only worked on heredity in plants, he'd tried to breed bees. This was his bee house. Mendel's genetic theory was correct. His knowledge of bees was not. Mendel had crossed a red flower with a white. The colour red was controlled by a dominant gene, big R. The white by a recessive gene, little r. The result was pink, carrying both genes, big R and little r. But when the pink self-pollinated, that is, crossed with itself, the progeny segregated into 1 red, 2 pink, and 1 white. Of these, the red would breed true, so would the white. But the intermediate pink would always segregate into 1 red, 2 pink, 1 white, generation after generation. Mendel had shown that genes cannot be changed, simply rearranged. For the breeder, the trick was to rearrange them so that desirable genes dominated and could be fixed to breed true. With the honeybee, Brother Adam was dealing with 16 important genetic factors, some dominant, some recessive. At the isolation apiary he'd established on Dartmoor in 1925, he set out by trial and error to breed into the Bakfast strain the desirable genes of his imports. But in which type of bee, queen, worker or drone, were these factors to be judged? Characteristics like fecundity, the ability to produce lots of workers.
In the case of the honeybee, it's the fecundity, that's the characteristic which the queen manifests, you say, and which the bees don't manifest. On the other hand, of course, well, the bees have a finger in the pie, because the fecundity, to some extent, also depends upon how the bees feed the queen. You see, if they don't feed the queen adequately, she cannot produce the eggs. So it's a dual dependence.
Brother Adam was faced with a geneticist's nightmare. added to which was another wild card.
Plenty of drones there.
The drone, the male bee, was the product of parthenogenesis, born from an unfertilized egg. He had a mother, but no father, and carried only half the chromosomes of the queen. The laboratory was to help Brother Adam put his breeding program under more control. This is the first stage of the instrumental insemination of a queen. A drone, who'd normally mate in mid-air, is about to yield up his semen. In nature, the drone dies after mating. Fertilization is his only function. Here, his semen is taken up by pipette. It'll need several drones to provide enough semen for one insemination. That squares with nature, for a queen outside would mate with up to a dozen drones, a complication in bee genetics of which Mendel was unaware. The queen, already quietened by a whiff of carbon dioxide, is prepared. She's blown into a tapered tube with an open end, positioned so that her rear is exposed for the operation. The skills of the surgeon have arrived in the apiary. Before the semen can be introduced, the queen's egg-laying tract must be opened. Inside is a sac, the sperma theca. In it, the queen will store the semen, enough for a lifetime. Instrumental insemination gives Brother Adam 100% certainty over his breeding pedigrees. He knows precisely which drones contributed to this batch of semen. The technique also means that useful semen can be flown in from anywhere in the world for use in the breeding program. And where regulations prevent the export of queens from Bakfast, as to the United States, semen can be sent instead. This way, Brother Adam supplies his agent in Texas. There, Bakfast semen is used to rear 30,000 queens a year for sale to beekeepers. "5 days after insemination, the queen begins to lay. Thus does Brother Adam synthesize the fruits of his travels. But he doesn't decide things on a season's performance. He assesses results over a number of years. If queens aren't up to it, they're eliminated. Only by rigorous culling, by recording, crossing, interbreeding, has the Bakfast super bee emerged. It's economic performance that counts. How heavy is the honey box atop the production hive? Here in the apiary, Brother Adam's experiments must prove themselves.
Oh, that's quite heavy, that one. Now, this is the queen excluder. That prevents the queen from coming up through into the honey box, because we want to keep all the brood below the screen so that the top box has just the honey in. Take this off carefully. We usually look at that at a quick glance to make sure the queen's not on there, because it's important not to lose the queen. And then this yellow stuff here, what you can see, this is propolis, which the bees glue the hive together with and seal all the cracks to make it draft-proof. The division board there. Now the first few combs on the outside are the honeycombs. And this is where the bees are storing their honey here. You can see it all shining in the comb.
But this honey is not for taking. It's on brood comb, food for the bees themselves. Man's harvest comes from the honeycombs in the box above the brood chamber. The queen, who's much bigger, is excluded from the honey box by a mesh which allows through only the workers. Since she can't lay eggs there, the combs are used exclusively to store honey surplus to the requirements of the hive. It's for these combs that beekeepers keep bees.
And we'll try and see if we can find the queen. She should be about here somewhere. Well, here she is. And she's got one wing clipped, which we do for marking the queen for our own use, and also it prevents the queen from flying off from the colony in a swarming period. You see, she's a young queen, this one. Brother Adam usually keeps the queens for about 3 to 4 years at the longest. Today she's not doing a lot of egg laying because the bees are bringing in a lot of fresh nectar and they're filling the cells which she should be using. But when they move the honey up tonight, then she will most probably start to... Come on, come back here. She will most probably start to do some egg laying again. She's looking around, but when you expose a queen to the light like this, their natural instinct within the hive is gone, you see, because they like to be in darkness. They try to get into the, out of the sunlight, into the shade.
It proved an average season at Bakfast. This colony brought home something under 20 kilograms of honey. Overall, Brother Adam's 320 production hives yielded some 5.5 tons. In the circumstances, it was quite a crop, for the rainfall in this part of southwest England is enormous, 165 centimetres a year. And modern agriculture works against the honeybee. Year by year, wildflowers and useful crops disappear. Most pesticides are not bee-friendly. If his bee can produce at Bakfast, it should excel anywhere. That's Brother Adam's selling point, and the figures prove it. Of 5 top strains tested by the University of Minnesota in 1980, the Bakfast yielded best. A French Bakfast colony gave 230 kilograms in 1983. In Denmark in 1985, a single hive produced 350 kilos, surely a record. Brother Adam's achievement has brought international acclaim. Books, lecture tours, and most importantly, the performance of the Bakfast strain have marked him the most celebrated bee breeder the world has ever known. He was awarded the Order of the British Empire, took tea at the London Waldorf with the novelist Barbara Cartland. They discussed royal jelly and virgin queens. But it's here among old friends in southern Germany that Brother Adam has his greatest satisfaction.
Die Carnica wird Aussehen von der Carnica wird dominant.
The talk is of bees, whether the features of the local Carniolan are dominant over the Bakfast when the two are crossed.
Beispiel griechische Biene.
It was this hobby beekeeper, Conrad Fink, who first introduced Franz Fehrenbach to the local boy made good. Brother Adam had not only gained a German agent, but a companion and underwriter for his bee hunting expeditions. Fehrenbach and his son Klaus had direct access to a bee, which would greatly benefit their business. This is traditional beekeeping as still largely practiced in South Germany. The bee house is home to a battery of hives. In Herr Fink's case, Carniolans live cheek by jowl with colonies of Bakfast. In the 19th century, Mendel had kept his bees this way. But the bee house has a profound drawback. It can't be moved. Sited between an orchard and a wood, these modern hives of Franz Fehrenbach benefit from apple blossom in spring and forest honey in autumn. In summer, they can be moved to other nectar sources. Migratory beekeeping he learnt from Brother Adam.
bist da schon ganz schnell, ja.
A special day for Brother Adam. His first visit to the isolation apiary high in the Bavarian Alps, where the Fehrenbachs breed Bakfast queens. Thoroughly German, Franz Fehrenbach has tried to create a replica of Brother Adam's Dartmoor mating apiary. This is a drone colony.
Hier fängt jetzt der Honig an.
So. Sehen Sie da?
The honeycombs have the raised white cappings of which Brother Adam is so fond. Such pristine combs sell well in shops. The old master is impressed. Like proud pupils, the Fehrenbachs parade their handiwork.
Also beginnen schon wieder ausräumen, weil es jetzt doch im Herbst ist.
Ja.
Ja, selbstverständlich.
The Fehrenbachs raise and sell 100 breeder queens a year. They're one of 2 distribution outlets Brother Adam has in Germany. The other is a cooperative which generates some 800 Bakfast queens a year on an island apiary in the North Sea.
Etwa 3 Aufsätze gefüllt, nicht? Aber dann war es schlagartig aus.
Sieht Sie, sie sind schwer.
This colony is packed with honey.
Jetzt bist du vor der Wahl.
Und Elend verbaut. Da gibt's frischer Honig.
Ja, frischen. Oder?
Aber das, weil es verbaut ist. Und
Klaus Fehrenbach removes the honey boxes so Brother Adam can examine the brood chamber below. These Bakfast bees display great uniformity of colour, a reassurance the strain is breeding pure.
ja, das ist sehr regelmäßig.
This brood comb is empty of honey, filled entirely with developing eggs and larvae, a healthy sign.
Nach der Königin.
Die Elisabeth.
The obviously prolific queen has laid right up to the edge of the comb.
Die Königinzucht brauchen wir im eigenen Interesse für die eigene Imkerei, weil ja Bruder Adam jedes Jahr, praktisch jedes Jahr, jedem Volk eine neue, unverbrauchte Königin gibt. Und damit steigt die Leistung und der Ertrag enorm an. Und die anderen Imker versorgen wir hauptsächlich aus dem Grund, damit die Bakfast eine größere Verbreitung findet, dass wir über mehr Erfahrungen in unserem Land verfügen, nicht nur wir allein, weil ja die Trachtverhältnisse unterschiedlich sind. Und wenn eventuell einmal bei Schwierigkeiten, wenn Völker ausfallen oder Naturkatastrophen, dass wir also die Biene nicht verlieren, sondern immer wieder auf die Biene zurückgreifen können.
Das ist anders wie der Heidehonig bei Ihnen in England.
Klaus explains that alpine honey differs from the heather honey of England. It's from pine and dwarf rhododendron, the alpine
Die
rose.
Alpenrose und auch die, was sonst noch blüht hier.
Das ist auch sehr...
It tastes very good, says Brother Adam, but a little thick.
zäh.
Zäh, ja. Späte Tracht, die wird dann dünner und lebt.
The bees can be stroked like pets, says Klaus.
Die Bienen, ja, die kann man streicheln. Sind wie Haustiere.
No one would believe it, says Brother Adam. An idyllic day in a bee-loud glade. It's September 1987. These few days in Germany are a prelude to a great adventure. Brother Adam is relaxing, building his strength, visiting friends and family.
Da bist du mal hergekommen von dem Haus. Ja.
He's staying with his cousin Maria. She lives near Biberach, close to the old farmhouse where Brother Adam tended livestock as a child. He left for Bakfast at the age of 12. He was born in this very room in 1898. But Brother Adam is preoccupied with the future. Even now, in his 90th year, he's still seeking useful genetic material further to improve the Bakfast bee. Within hours, he'll be on his way to the heart of Africa, leading an expedition to hunt the elusive black bee of Kilimanjaro.